Alright, this review video is from section 5.2. So just reminding you that 5.2 is graphing polynomials, some terminology, and of course end behavior. And that's supposed to be a 5.2, wow. Okay, let's try that again. 5.2. So it says for the function f of x equals negative x cubed plus 2, describe the end behavior of the graph and sketch a graph. Now on the exam, you're going to have to do this exact same format. So you're going to be sketching the graph and describing the end behavior. So to me, it makes sense to probably sketch the graph first because then I have that visual in front of me. This will be a no calculator question. Okay, so you're not going to have your calculator to help you graph this. So I will have a table here for you, just a blank table. You can test as many or as few points as you would like. I have a negative function and it's cubic. So before I do anything, I know a negative cubic function will fall from left to right. So I'm just going to test a few points, and I'm going to just test like -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, just because those are pretty easy to do. So again, pause the video, make sure you can do this without making any errors. The negatives with a negative is tricky, so just be real careful, and I'll just show one of these. But if you do a negative and then a -2 cubed, of course a -2 times -2 times -2 is -8, but then the negative is going to make it a +8, so just be careful with that. That's really going to be a +8 plus 2, which is 10. Okay, same thing with the -1. -1 times -1 times -1 is -1, but then times the negative up front makes it +1, and plus 2 will make that a 3. 0 is easy. 0 cubed plus 2 is 2. Then you have 1, so 1 times 1 times 1 is 1, but then it's negated, so -1 plus 2 is 1. And +2, 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, but then it's negated, so -8 plus 2 is -6. Alright, then I'm going to kind of blow up my graph here so I can hopefully still see my points. Okay, so my first point is -2, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's right at the top here. And then I have -1, 3. And I have 0, 2. And I have 1, 1. And I have 2, -6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I knew, before I connect this, that it was going to look like this, and I definitely can see that here. So to me, that's enough points, and you might want to check more. That's certainly fine. You don't necessarily need to. Then I'm going to ask you to describe end behavior, and I will off to the side, just so that you know, I will have this. I will have f of x goes where as x goes to infinity, and then I'll have f of x goes where as x goes to -infinity. So you're going to fill these in. Okay, so again, as x is going to infinity, right, and x infinity is this way. So as x is going to infinity, the end of that graph, you have to go down to get there. So that's a -infinity. Okay, so that end behavior matches up with a -infinity. And then as x goes to -infinity, so of course that'd be going to the left to get to the end of the graph, it's going up, so that's a +infinity. So again, it'll be formatted just like this. You'll be filling in the red, the f of x's or the y's, or where the end's going. Alright, I'm going to ask you questions like this on the test. Is this a polynomial function? So x cubed minus 4x plus x to the -5th. So remind yourself that polynomial functions, the exponents have to be positive and whole numbers. Okay, so they're positive and they're whole numbers. So x to the -5th right now, that is not good. That makes it not a polynomial function. So no, 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 that's not a polynomial function. Then the second question says, what is the degree and the leading coefficient? So note, this is not in standard form. I'm just going to write it in standard form, so 7x to the 4th plus x cubed minus 4x. Now I can see that my first or leading term here is 7x to the 4th, so my degree is 4, that's a 4th degree function, and my leading coefficient is the number in front of that, which is 7. So just please be careful if it's not in standard form, and I might just do that to you on the test. Make sure you put it in standard form first, and don't jump the gun and assume it's cubic. Okay, last concept from section 5.2 is using direct substitution to evaluate, and then using synthetic substitution to evaluate. Notice this is not division, this is just evaluation. So I want you to understand, first of all, what's the difference between direct and synthetic substitution. So direct substitution is exactly what it means. You're directly going to substitute -2 in for all of the x's. Okay, so I'm going to just rewrite this, plugging -2 in for all of the x's, and then I'm going to talk through this. So -2, whoops, -2 cubed, so -2 times -2 times -2 is -8, but then it's negated, so that's going to be a positive 8. -2 squared is positive 4, times another 2 is 8. -3 times -2 is positive 6, and then I have a plus 1, so 8 plus 8 is 16, plus 6 is 22, plus 1 is 23. So f of -2 equals 23, or if you prefer to write it as a point, you could write -2 comma 23. Either is fine with me. Okay, now synthetic substitution, of course, is where you do the awesome little half rectangle. You're evaluating -2, so you put that up front. You take all the coefficients, and remember you have to have everything all the way from your degree, so cubed, squared, first, all the way down to the constant, which I do, but if I didn't, I'd put in a 0. So I'm going to lay all of those out, and then you carry down multiply, add, multiply, add, multiply, and add. And when you're doing synthetic substitution, that last value is your answer. So again, I would say f of -2 equals 23, or write it as a point, -2, 23. And I will ask you to do both of these, so evaluate directly and synthetically.